associated with guilt, shame, not just Catholicism. Like we've certainly been accused of that as Catholics, but I think the same tropes are oftentimes told in Jewish circles and evangelical circles. There's a certain tendency that we have to try to get the people we care about to do good, but so often in the wrong ways. Paul's writing to the Philippians today, and Philippi seems to be having some trouble, some division. A couple of the leaders in the community seem to be at odds with each other. As you read through the letter, maybe they're all a little bit at odds with Paul. But Paul writes some very beautiful things that we kept, but he also kind of falls into that temptation of maybe trying to get them to do what he thinks they need to do out of care for him. Like he starts it out with this kind of good grandmother guilt trip that he says, if there's any love, if you care about me at all, you'll do this. And I bring that up because I think it's ineffective. Like it's not helpful for us as parents, as priests, as grandparents to try to coerce relationships with God out of a sense of shame or guilt. When we're guilty, we should acknowledge it. Paul would say humbly, and repent and move on. But that we want, ultimately, the people that we love and care about to respond to God's invitation and recognize the beauty and value of that invitation and of that response. And Paul kind of gets there with the Philippians. Like he starts to share with them a vision of what their community could look like if they lived with the Spirit of Christ. And it's a beautiful letter for church communities to consider as they grow or as they grow older. And as selfishness and pride sneak into our relationships with each other, and as we start to look more for our own good than for our sisters and brothers, like there's room to consider there. But really, this isn't just the thing of parishes. This is the thing of church communities, like families, like groups of friends, like the neighborhood Bible study. It's the relationships between spouses that require that kind of humility, not the kind of humility that says I'm worthless. Paul doesn't say that. Not the kind of humility that says, it's okay if you want to walk on me. Paul's not into being walked on. The kind of humility that is more concerned about the interests and the needs, the concerns, the cares of another than of myself. The kind of humility that lets me place others first. And that would be, yes, in the practical things that I do, but also in my perspective and care and concern for them. And that might help me want what is best for them, just for them, and not selfishly for myself, as so many Catholic and Jewish grandmothers have been accused of doing. In the Gospel, I can't completely pass up the chance to talk about another parable, right? In the Gospel, we have these two sons with their father, and one goes and does what he's asked to do after saying he won't, and the other says, sure, Dad, I'll go, and then he doesn't. From the perspective of shame and guilt, the first kind of faces his guilt and lives with dignity. The second avoids shame, but holds on to his guilt as he refuses to join in the work of the kingdom. for us just to recognize that sometimes all those external trappings, that sometimes the expectations that we create for one another and for ourselves, that they're less important than the willingness ultimately to go and do the will of the Father, than our ability ultimately to receive and live that invitation of being in the Spirit of Christ.